Celebrity is a funny thing, bro, because the majority of the world, the consumer, they love the celebrity.
Mm.
There's something within what culture's done within the last 20 years um, concerning fame.
Yeah.
So, like, we've got our Britain's Got Talent, X Factor. This kind of rollout of these programs has turned out, the kids are wanting, more than anything to be famous.
Yep.
Whereas when I was growing
Yeah.
up, I wanted to be a millionaire.
Mm. Yeah. You still do, bro. We still do, eh?
I'm still wanting to be
See, the funny thing was having a chat with my son the other day. He's 16. He saw that someone had rocked up to the opening of the show, opening of the Lion King, here in New Zealand. He's like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe that." I can't remember the name at the moment. Freak. But he's
unlucky.
This is what I mean. He's a social media influencer. So like you and me back in the day would be like, "Oh man, I can't believe Rena Owen was at the opening of the Lion King." You know what I mean? Or like,
bro, that's given. Oh, bro,
Tim's turned up. Shucks, that's where it's at as well. Like, what is a celebrity? Out of everyone else that turned up,
I'm gonna have to interrupt you real quick because you're talking about another celebrity, but we're gonna have to ask the question because, in theory, you've had that kind of status. How did you feel? Because being in England, we've been places together, and when I happened to mention, you never mentioned it, but when I happened to mention it, oh, this is Nick, this is Simba.
I know.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I know.
Go back to your son's story, and then we'll reintegrate into that thing again after.
It's like what you were saying. It's a huge cultural change, man. It's a huge cultural change. Because nowadays, because of social media and because you can get your blue ticks just by having followers, and then it's how do you get the followers? Sometimes it's just you're a content creator as well. Do you think it's too easy to be famous these days?
No, I just think that we've bred a culture of celebrity. So fame is the biggest thing. But then, I got to be honest, I've got nothing against it. I just find the whole topic of celebrity quite interesting, but because I'm not starstruck. I don't get starstruck by anyone. So your thoughts on how did it feel to have celebrity status? Whether you feel that way or not, the truth of the matter is that people only get invited to things. Like you've been invited to shows, to do interviews. You've when you've achieved something. Now, there's nothing wrong with achievement, and you did well at what you do or what you did. But how did it feel about the celebrity side of it? Did you ever take hold of it?
I think I definitely, if I'm honest, I took my opportunities. I think, and I think I realized that in hindsight. There's a certain wave that I rode and you can ride, but in saying that, like, even if to bring up some of the issues that have turned up lately in sports, like some of these celebrities that are like handling a lot of pressure right now, like Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, those athletes, and I sat there and I was like, I'm nowhere near on that, because there's a scale of celebritydom. You know what I speak? There's a huge scale.
World scale.
And I'm going, as much as there was celebrity status, being in the theatre realm, you could kind of separate yourself to a degree from it, especially even more so if you knew how to detach from social media. Because being on social media, it was hard to, because you'd always see it and you would always be engaging with people that, if I'm honest, out of my 14,000 followers, maybe only 100 of them know me. Yeah, and coming home, I realized that harder. Definitely because I was in a show that was kind of had worldwide notoriety. It really depended on where I was too. And sometimes I was in a huge city, a huge ass city. I'm also playing a character as well. A lot of these athletes and stuff are up there and they're representing themselves. Yes, I'm representing myself, but I'm also able to detach myself from going, people are here for Simba. What's up, dogs? Olympics.
You like that?
That was a very nice transition on there. That was a good transition, mate.
Get on, please. Let's go. But what makes it more forefront is that it's people have turned it into a political issue. A lot's going on in America, and has been for the last 4.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So with the introduction of Donald Trump to presidency, that turned the world onto politics. You can say what you want about the fella, but him coming into power really highlighted the fact that there is a massive power struggle between the left and the right. The women's American football team, you had a bunch of them on their knees when the anthem was being played.
Even for this Olympics.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what was the kneeling for? Because I honestly missed all that. What was the kneeling for?
Okay, so I think we have to take it back to that NFL player. I forget his name.
Wait,
who?
Colin?
Yeah, that's it. I thought you called him Cop.
I was like, I stopped in the middle. I shouldn't have done it. I shouldn't have stopped in the middle of Colin.
Oh,
Cop.
Wait, what's his name? Cop.
No, you got.
Yeah, so Colin Kapa'aka, he I think, and I don't want to speak out of term. I think the kneeling during the anthem was a protest about police brutality towards black people.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the case. But because it's you're dealing with a patriotic country, standing for the flag, the Pledge of Allegiance, that kind of thing is quite a big deal. So it's a really strange dichotomy of things, because you've got a people group that are standing up for the rights of black people, and then you've got the other part, which is just like I'm at the Olympics. It doesn't matter what my color is. I've made it here, and off the fact that I'm good enough to be here, and I'm wanting to represent my country. Taking off the other athlete who, I believe she won gold. I'm not sure if she's born American, but she's she I can't remember her name either, but she came out and she was like, yes, I love America, I love the USA, I love the fact that I've got this flag and I'm you know what I mean. So what's the purpose of going to the Olympics? It isn't to make a political statement. In fact, I don't think they allow political statements, but you go to the Olympics to represent your country.
How did that? That's interesting. I wonder how that bled over.
That's why I said it became political.
Political in terms of a move. Do you feel like an intention or an agenda from those?
Instead of individualizing the person and what they were going through and what's happening there, because America's so politically charged, there's a lot of backlash and it gets projected upon everything. But that being said, you've got athletes who are at the games who are being political. It's unfortunate that gets pulled into.
You bring up a good point, man, because you sit here and you think, yes, every country has, and every minority group within every country has their struggles, but America isn't the only one. But why is it always the Americans? Like, how many African or Asian countries are facing certain hardships at the hands of some, I don't know, evil tyrants or dictators, and then they're not up there doing those things and bringing the rest of the. If anything, they're probably countries that should do that even more than a superpower nation, because they actually need the publicity. That's crazy. I just thought about, bro.
Yeah, I agree.
Why is it always America?
Well, as I said, the American landscape is very charged, but not only that, they're probably the most influential country in the whole entire world.
Yeah.
So everyone knows for influence out there is the USA. So they're in the limelight, and they're constantly going to be in the limelight. But what's happened since, as I made my point before, is that with Trump coming in, he brought the layman, which is me, the one who's not so interested in politics, brought me into politics because of what was happening to him. What he was doing as a president, the uproar from the opposition was so much, it was over the top. And the amount of damage that people will go through, like they'll go and find dirt on you as a person, and then they make an advert and then they put it on television. Like that's the lengths that they go to in order to get their political point across, or to bring down the person that's their opposition. They go to all these lengths. And not only that, they will they will say one thing when that person's in power, and then they'll backtrack and go the opposite way and do the same thing that the person was doing who was in power. That's crazy. Donald Trump, I'm pushing through the vaccine real quick. Oh, the Democrats, no, don't take the vaccine. If Donald Trump's done it, don't take the vaccine. We need more time and blah, blah, blah to do the vaccine. Donald Trump comes out of power. Biden gets into power. Everybody, get your vaccine. Get your vaccine, like, it's so polarized like that. You're like, this is American politics is like television.
We're all sucked into it bad. It's influenced us so much that we take it on sometimes as a part of our own culture and identity, as we always have had. Like, I can't sit here and say that I haven't been influenced by especially when I look at what happened with Black Lives Matter here. And I'll admit that was something that I had to learn a lot about, and I learned the most about it when I actually shut my mouth and I was in the presence of Americans on both sides of that argument, black people on both sides of that argument, and sitting back and hearing what the fors and against had to say. And then the more I listened, I realized, hang on, this is an American issue, but yet we're filling Queen Street. When I came around and I realized, hang on, man, and I was a little bit fiapoko with jumping on a wave that didn't directly affect me, even though I stood in solidarity of support of minority group. I came to a point where I realized what it meant for me. With anything, any movement or anything that affects you, you have to understand what it means for yourself. And what happened to me was I genuinely had a deep sadness and a sympathy for Māori in this country. Because for me, that's our Black Lives Matter. As a Samoan who was not born here, as a product of colonization, someone who has benefited, even though I want to stand alongside a lot of my people who have been at the hands of police brutality and suffered from the dawn raids. My line of they didn't. My dad's, they came here in the 70s and they were okay. They weren't affected by that. But I stood here and I went, man, that was tokenistic for me growing up. Yes, I learned about the Treaty of Waitangi. Yes, but not to mention, and I'm gonna probably lose a lot of friends in saying this. There was almost a bit of tribalism and a bit of looking down on Māori from the Pasifika community that a lot of people won't really want to talk about. And even though I sat there last week and I was proud with what happened with the Dawn Raid's apology, and I'm like, man, I tried to be positive about that, and it is positive, and I hope that the generation that was affected by that the most actually gets something from it. But I sat there and I went, let's not put ourselves on the same par as Māori, guys. Like, let's also focus on that. And I came back from the UK after I got a lot of shit for posting something on Facebook about, challenging my own people. All of a sudden I became a plastic afkasi. I went, you know what, let me wait. Let me go home to New Zealand and let me see if our youth, in particular, the new woke generation, are actually putting their money where their mouth is. And I thought, you know what, I'm probably going to go home and I'm going to sense this overwhelming support for Māori from Pasifika that I've never, I'll be honest, felt like there has been. Waitangi Day came around, and I thought this will be the day where I'll see all the posts. You Black Lives Matter and hashtag Black Lives Matter all of last year. I bet you I went into Queen Street with my nieces and nephews just to take them out to remember the time zone? Remember time zone? Spaces on Queen Street. Not one PI person holding up a sign. Not one PI person at Bastion Point. Not one PI person at Mission Bay. But the irony is there was actually tents set up where people were handing out pamphlets and sharing info about Treaty of Waitangi, and there was a Pasifika family playing volleyball right next door, and I don't even think they paid one iota of attention to that tent. But and it's all good. They were there with their family. But I'm just trying to paint this picture of how much that sucked us in. And this isn't to mean any disrespect to people who are affected by Black Lives Matter. We need to own a lot more as Pacifica, I think. And I don't know if you watched the Dawn Raids, brother. I don't know if you watched it, but I loved all of their speeches. But I loved the Princess of Tonga's speech.
Mm-hmm.
And every now and then she addressed and received the apology from Jacinda and spoke beautifully in her native tongue. But there was something she did every now and then, and it was like picture paints 1,000 words moment. Like she'd look up and she'd say something like, remember our own accountability too, Tonga. Do you know what I mean? And I loved that, like, because that could have been a really one-sided occasion where our leaders and our people could have milked that apology, but
For sure.
her one stuck out to me because she'd be addressing and having a lovely talanoa with Jacinda, but every now and then she'd be like, hey, you know, just as the matriarch and the leader that she is, I was like, well, that's powerful. Because that look was like, hey, yeah, we're getting this apology, but we need to own our shit too.
You relayed that Pacifica people may have jumped on the BLM wagon, but where was the support for the tangata whenua?
Yeah, and bringing it home to where it actually matters, and that's with us. Yeah, let's support minority groups across the world, but what about where we're at?
So I went to a secondary school in Auckland, and I was. Here's the funny thing: I felt like a minority amongst the brown people.
Yeah.
So, in my class, I think there were 2 Māori.
Yeah.
And the rest were Pacifica.
Yeah.
So, and then I think the whole school, in general, was high population Samoa, then Tonga, and the minorities were Maori, white, and Inca. So, there were a couple of Oriental people as well. So we were the minority, but it was about 80%, 80-90% Pacifica. And I grew up, and maybe it was just me, but I always thought that I fit in with everyone.
Yeah.
But when I was at secondary school, I don't want to say I was made to feel, but I really didn't feel like I fit in. I felt like I was a second-class citizen, even though I belonged to this country.
Yeah.
All I wanted to be was accepted.
Yeah.
And I'd be accepted amongst my own colour.
Yeah, bro.
That was. But the only oppression that I actually ever really felt was from my own colour skin.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Like I've never had oppression from any white human in New Zealand whatsoever, or around the world. I'm in the UK, so
yeah, man.
That's me. So when people talk about white people oppressing, no one's held me back.
Yeah.
If anything, the only thing that's held me back is my own poverty mentality, or other brown people saying that you can't do it. But I honour your words from what you said, because that still struck a chord in me.
Wow.
For what you said.
Yeah.
So that actually, there's somewhere in the depths of my emotion that hit somewhere. Like I'm not going to say, I'm the victim.
No.
What I'm saying is that touched my heart, and I'm like, that's deep. So maybe we can revisit our cultural navigate through more later on. Yeah,
hard, bro.
That's great.
That's great, man.
It's all about me.
All about my own self.
Is there anything that you're dealing with at the moment, or that you have that you want to share about?
I'm transitioning.
Are you trying to get us? Are you trying to get us cancelled already? Because there's people out there that want to cancel.
I know,
bro. They can't take a joke,
bro. Okay. I almost got cancelled last week in a weird way. But...
Let's go.
Shucks. So I try to say that. I think you probably saw my Insta post about that that individual who came at me with some pretty vicious, but like harmless but harmful. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that didn't affect me. Wait, this is weird. Like there's a level of violation that can kind of get you, even if it...
I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, how did you bring me into your fairy tale? What happened here?
And how do you know I shop at a bag and save?
What do you mean you were in the undie section?
That's probably been the biggest thing. I mean, among other, family stuff and transitioning and trying to get a job and stuff. But that happened last week, and that shook me a bit. Like, not like, oh my gosh, I need counseling, but
It's a wake up call, bro.
I don't know. Yeah. Not to that extent. No. Honestly, I can't say anyone's ever been on that level. They're an avid sort of.
It seemed like the person was actually after.
Yeah.
Like,
this was my question. Also, at what point do you? Because got a lot of support in that, but there were a few people that were going along the lines of, hey, this person is clearly not okay. Have sympathy for them. Has also this movement gone a little bit too far? Not too far, but at what point do you really hold people accountable, especially with this whole movement of mental health, without fear of being cancelled because you're coming across, I don't know, too abrasive or, And I'm like, guys.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. So,
not to mention, switch the gender roles right now. What would have happened too if I was the one that was, or a male was.
Oh, bro! If you were the one doing that, it would have been over. You ask the question, at what stage do you bring people into accountability? Man, it's social media. First of all, I think what we've got to get good at is block.
I saw your message too.
Right off the bat.
And I can get sucked in because I should have.
But the problem is they brought the family members into it. Where it got a little bit dark. So I'm just like, you know what? I might have to get the police. Like, I would just even give a warning. I'm going to have to get the police to come and have a chat with you because, this is, you're moving into a different realm here and I don't like this. But it's a difficult, well, it's not, for me, it's not a difficult one. I have no celebrity whatsoever. I did when I was in New Zealand.
Yeah, no. Actually, yes, I get. Hey.
That's another story.
Hey, Herbie. Hey, how is that guy? Oh, I haven't seen him in ages. You got some low-key fans on these streets, bro. You did Treasure Island?
Yeah.
Which is also coming out here soon. That's right.
Okay. Just play us a song, Jake.
Play us a song, Jake. I'll play you something I've been listening to.
Oh, Cousin Brian.
My cousin Brian. Bro, so here's...
My cousin Brian.
This song is called Cherish. I love this song. The choice of this song right now actually for me ties into a little bit of What's Up Docs. Because in the transition of my life right now, when you play a role in musical theatre for so long, there's a method to the storytelling that you learn in theatre, and it means that you have to change the style of your singing.
Yes. Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So someone who was raised on Michael Jackson, bit of the Temptations, that sort of era in Motown, and then when I hit teenage years, it was Craig David and then Brian McKnight. He was my first ever album on a Discman. When I had my first Discman, I would walk to school and play it, would freaking skip on my favourite bloody songs. But it was actually this album was the one that I had first. And so when coming back out of the show, I've been trying to find my voice again. Nick's voice. Nick's voice as Nick. Not Nick as Simba, because I sing a different way. Yeah. They don't even want you to use vibrato in the show.
Wow.
And as Polly and Māori, the vibrato is core to the identity, especially the Māori vibrato, but hit us. And then the different types of vibrato we have, because then there's the cookia vibrato, which is the fast one. But anyway, in terms of singing and tone, and I just used to listen to this guy a lot, and through through what his songs did in terms of like soul. I just loved singing it, and from there, my voice sort of what do you call it? Developed the way that it did. So I've been listening to him again, and it's been good for me because I think we all need, in many different areas, reminders of who we are. But it's crazy that I've been listening to him and having like, and going in and singing and feeling really open and feeling like myself, feeling my voice come back.
With current culture, I was blown away by my son. So he's 11, starts secondary school in September. But he came down the stairs singing a song. I was like, dude, I used to listen to that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
What's going on? And then he introduced me to, so there's a fad going around at the moment, but it goes something like this.
It's a victory when our kids are listening to these songs. It's like, yes, that's something right.
It was the dance. It was the dance.
Never want to give you up. Never want to leave you down. I didn't even know the... But you know the tune and the melody.
Right. And so when he was singing this, I was just like, my gosh, guy. And that really took me back. So the nostalgia of... the first song that I ever learnt and wrote down lyric for lyric and learnt off by heart was a Rick Astley song called Together Forever.
Bruh. You.
Yes.
That is great, bro. Ladies. Being chat, man.
This is the
How do we say goodbye?
Episode 1. We're done.
Top. Oh.